Welcome to Slayerfest 98. I'm Kimberly and Southwick.
And I'm Ian Martin.
Alastair, Patton, Garcia.
And I'm Ian Carlos Crawford, and today we are here to talk Angel Season 3, Episode 14. Couplet. 14. Before we get into the episode, though, I wanted to plug our Patreon. Patreon helps keep this little podcast going. We don't really have a budget. We don't have sponsors. All the Patreon money goes back into the podcast. And we are currently covering X-Men the Animated Series and Batman the Animated Series. We also covered a lot of other things. Alastair has been on for Firefly with me. We covered Harley Quinn. Cover random movies, whatever I've been watching, whatever's come out. And we do Patreon Zooms where we just hang out. We do watch-alongs over Zoom where we watch. Usually I have people vote. Usually it ends up voting for a Buffy episode, but we watch something. And yeah, if you're one of our top tier subscribers, you also can have an outro for an episode a month of like your favorite scene, favorite outfit, and grade. And any and all support is much appreciated. You can find the link in the information for this episode. But getting to the episode, what did we think about this episode? Ian, I feel like it feels like I am purposely putting you on episodes you don't like, but you do kind of like this one, right?
Oh, I really like this one. Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of weird. There's an element to this one that you would think would bring it down for me. But overall, I think this one is just a ton of fun. I think that it's difficult too because Waiting in the Wings is there are Whedons on Buffy. Like there's Hush, there's Once More with Feeling. There's ones where like so much budget and so much Whedon. I mean, like whatever about the human being. He's a great writer. And like they feel like cut above the rest, and there aren't very many of those in Angel, but Waiting in the Wings is definitely one of those.
Yeah. And
so the fact that this one follows in that shadow and still feels as fun and enjoyable while grappling with some subject material that didn't work in previous episodes, including the last one that you had me on, I think speaks to it. It's a lot of fun. I like this one a lot.
Yeah. It's Ian. I'm curious to see what it is. The thing that you're like, oh, because there was something where I was like, Ian's going to hate this. Like I kept thinking of you watching it. So I thought you were going to be like really hating this episode.
I don't like my Slayerfest Ian reputation that I've started to
get. Kim, what'd you think?
As long as you're not a Spike hater, don't worry. That's when they come for us.
Yeah,
I'm not a Spike hater. I also love Spike. It was good. I don't know if I'm as into it as Ian was. There was one thing, I guess, that also kind of rubbed me the wrong way towards the end, but we'll talk about that when we get there. It felt like two monsters of the day, I guess. The tree monster was weird. But
that's fair.
Yeah, I don't know. It was fine. It got the job done.
Alastair, what did you think of this episode?
I feel like they come for Spike haters and Spike lovers a lot, so if you're a Spike indifferent, I think that's probably the best place to be. But I feel like this, so it takes place after my favorite episode of Angel, Waiting in the Wings. And I feel like this episode is like doing the maintenance.
Yeah.
Like a big cleanup, like it's like, hey, we got to do these things and just get them done and get out of the way. But we're also going to, provide really good dialogue, really good visuals while we do it.
This episode for me does suffer from, like y'all are saying, it has a lot to do, right? Because I am very curious why Charisma Carpenter leaves for 3 episodes, because it's not pregnancy, because she's pregnant next year. Like the actor herself is pregnant next year. And I always thought going through the show, oh, well, she leaves because that's her pregnancy leave, but that doesn't make any sense because she's not pregnant yet. Like, so I'm very curious.
Cordelia just went on a really long vacation with Groo, Ian.
But right, like
part of the plot.
It's weird that like when the actor is pregnant, that's not when because you would think that's when she would like leave for a few episodes. I've gone through this last half and it does suffer. The episodes without her like are very like, oh, she's not there.
Yeah.
So she's here at the beginning.
Right. No, yeah.
So,
but I'm wondering like what was the reason.
I'm wondering if she like had a family issue, like a tragedy or like a hospitalization or a death or something. So
true.
I will say too, it's funny you said you watched this one after Waiting in the Wings. I watched this one after Couplet. Or excuse me, I watched Couplet after Provider because those are the two that you had me on for this discussion. And so it's also possible that I had the opposite of the Waiting in the Wings effect, where watching this after Couplet was like, oh my God, it's so much better. Like some of the stuff that we'll talk about that I thought didn't work in Provider works fine for me here.
So I will also say that while this episode does like do a lot of like just like character moving pieces, it actually does have enjoyable stuff. Like it does, that's the thing with Angel. Like it does get ragged on as, not being as good, which Ian, I think it's you that has said like it does hit some of the high highs of Buffy, but it never hits like its lows are way lower than any Buffy low.
I think it's way more experimental than Buffy. And because of, I mean, look at the identity shift in the show from the first season is nothing like the second season. Third season's a little like the second season, but the fourth season's not like the third season. And then the fifth season, they go to Oz. Like it's a different show, it's a different show completely. And I think that I appreciate all of that experimentation, but I also think that it leads to some real hard misses.
Yeah.
Stuff that's just not fun to watch. Really well made, but yeah.
I mean, Angel and Buffy walked so that Riverdale could run.
Yeah.
Riverdale wishes. But yeah, no, I mean, like, even though I rag on the lows, like this still has enjoyable stuff in it. The characters, the show is already more confident in what it is. So like, I don't know. I enjoy that. I don't enjoy all of the like drama that we're seeing. But so we start, I do like these episodes where we get the baby's point of view. I am charmed by that.
Yeah.
Like if it's like them looking down, like I'm very charmed by that. Like, I don't know.
Connor's a good baby.
Yeah. He's a lot better of a baby than a person. Like,
can we talk about how in my margins I have "Where's the baby" written at one point, and it is like insulting that at the end Angel's like, "Oh, thanks for watching the baby" to Lauren. Like, Lauren, can you come to my house, like, so I can get things done without my child interrupting it? Like, that's not fair. When do we start providing childcare? Like, whenever they effing want. Like, amazing.
So I guess the thing is, at this point, Lauren is living there because his bar was blown up again. And the episode after that, he's like, well, I'm moving in. So I guess it's like he is living there for free. So like,
and I like Lauren and Angel together as like little like fathers,
Lauren's clearly the mom because he's doing all the work.
Yeah.
I do like the like weird little dynamic. Angel and Lauren have a good where like Lauren is Angel's friend and Angel likes everyone else, but he is Angel's friend first and foremost. And I do like that dynamic that like they have their little asides and it's just like Lauren knows him pretty well and can read him pretty well. Like in this opening, how like I do like Angel being like, I remember him being taller. I wasn't talking about the baby. I know. I was talking about the Groo slug. I know. Like, I do like that Lauren's like, yeah, I'm already there.
Does anybody else think that Lauren is wearing one of Angel's shirts?
I did not think of that, but
yeah,
wouldn't put it past him. But this reminded me of like me with Kim or like me with Zach, where it's like, Kim, I feel like you already know when I'm like jealous of a thing or like if something like pisses me off and you have seen it, you're like, yeah, I already know. Like, and I like that. I like seeing this kind of friendship.
They're hanging out doing like a very normal thing that people do that doesn't often get televised.
Yeah.
Like they're like Angel's like putting his clothes away or something, and that's us too. Like that's a thing you do in front of your closer friends.
I mean, that's what I was going to say about the comedy in this. I mean, maybe even in comparison to Waiting in the Wings, it feels so much more organic You know, the humor feels very grounded and in character, as opposed to 2 episodes ago, Wes and Gunn standing next to each other, drooling over Fred, and the sort of overlapping. It's just, I was talking about the hottie. Like, it's so cringe-inducing. And all of the comedy in this episode for me, except for Groosalug, feels very just kind of grounded and realistic. And like you said, a relationship that feels real, you know, or like that one you've had. I think it's really good writing.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, I like that. Lorne also is kind of like Lorne doesn't really push, is what I like about Lorne. And Lorne knows he's correct. That's the thing I really like, where Lorne's like, all right, fine, be alone, whatever. Like, I know that's not what you want, but sure. Like, and when he's like, you know, I assumed this wasn't your perfume. Like, you didn't wear this perfume scent. So he like can tell because he can tell, but also he can like literally smell Cordelia's perfume on Angel. Which, to be fair, like, if there weren't the vibes, it's like, well, they were just close to each other. That can happen. But also, Lorne, like, gets the vibes. So I feel like Lorne fucking knows. And I wanted to make a point because, Ian, I don't know if you've encountered this, or Alastair. A lot of people say they don't like the way Angel is written in Buffy season 7. Like, him being all jealous feels like, that doesn't feel like Angel that we know. But
isn't he only in one episode in season 7?
Because
when he's jealous about Spike.
Yeah.
He's jealous about Spike. Yeah.
I think that's fair, though. Like, I don't know why people would be upset about it.
Yeah.
Like, this is like, the I don't want to say love of his life, but like the biggest love that he's had, and
who is now like dating his enemy. Yeah. Like,
yeah.
Even
Spike, who he fooled around with, like.
True.
I think there's a big difference between jealous and pouting.
Yeah.
Like, he's not, he's not,
yeah.
It's not a jealous rage. He's pouting to Buffy about Spike. And I think that even reads into the idea that they have this very comfortable long-term friendship where he can feel comfortable admitting that.
Yeah. He did the same thing with Riley too, so.
Oh yeah, he did. You're right. Yeah. I didn't even think about that. I forget about Riley so often. I forgot. But you're fucking right. Yeah. Like, but I always see that critique a lot, that people don't like how Angel's written, but it is like, we learn that's how
the thing I don't like about the writing for Angel in season 7 is how happy he is, how friendly he is, how jokey he is. And LA is the apocalypse is occurring in LA.
Mm-hmm. Cordelia, it just ended.
It's not, no, it's chosen as the end. Oh yeah. So it's just coming to an end, and his son has gone insane and is like, season 4 of Angel is so bleak and dark and horrifying, and he's about to brainwash all of his friends in order to make the world go together. And here he is, like Jokey McJokester, like, I missed her. It's
That's
like
fair.
Yeah, I understand the need for the tonal shift, but if you're watching, if you're hot watching Angel and Buffy back to back, that's what I find really weird about that cameo. Is just like, who is this?
I also think that you like act differently in different situations. So like he was in Sunnydale, you know, like it was definitely a big throwback, and maybe he was. You know what? I'm not going to defend the writers here. In my mind, he was like, "Oh, I'm in a different like place. I'm just gonna, you know, be different." So yeah,
that's fair. Yeah. So. You know, Lorne says, fine, Miss Garbo, have it your way. They shut the closet. We see Angel reopen it to smell Cordelia. Cordelia opens her closet. We kind of, I didn't really remember I thought Groosalug just came back because it was like, I love Cordelia and I miss her. I didn't remember it's like, he was like, is it that he was like kind of ousted as the like.
That's what he says.
But then later in the episode, Cordelia is like, you didn't really get deposed, did you? You just came back for me. And he's like, yeah. Like, he doesn't really, I don't know if he like confidently affirms it, but it's pretty much like, maybe, Yeah. So I think you remembered right. He just tricks her this beginning part.
Okay.
I just want to say this is a problem with democracy.
So when the camera's doing the pan around the two of them and that romantic music is swelling, I have in my notes, man, the music is really selling this romance as though it was something I don't remember it being in those 4 episodes. Like, I remember her having the hots for him.
He's
And
hot, yeah.
Yes,
he was-
because he's attractive.
Yeah, and he's kind of a himbo. Like,
Yeah, I feel
like
sort
he
of-
is,
he's
yeah.
a definitive himbo and all of that. But the way the music goes so hard in the paint on that spinning shot, which I realize what it's setting up is the shock of her seeing the demon vision.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But nonetheless, to me, the music is selling that relationship the way it needs it to be for this episode. Because, like, what happened in Waiting in the Wings was hot.
Yeah.
That was sexy. That was like, how is she not just completely overcome with, like, oh my God, what the hell happened? That was incredible. That was so, or like shocked or so weirded out or whatever. And like, I think that music is doing some heavy lifting to try and transition us away from Waiting in the Wings. And I don't know if it's successful. Sorry, Alastair.
I think Gruselig was definitely like a doorstop for the Angel Cordelia romance that they wanted to like provide. And then also, does anybody else get a little bit of Uncanny Valley from Gruselig?
What do you mean?
You know, like he just doesn't look exactly right, and it's like I keep on looking at him. I'm like, what's going on? Like,
Because he's too hot, maybe? I don't know.
No. He almost looks like AI in a way where, like,
I think his eyes. His eyes.
yeah.
His eyes. I think
look
it's the
different.
eyes. Yeah. So,
I think they changed the contact lenses that he had in the Pylea arc. He looks different to me in this one too, for sure.
Oh my God, wait, I have something really stupid to say. I thought he just had like dark brown eyes and they come off looking black on screen, but they were just like dark brown eyes. I didn't realize, but that makes more sense that they're contacts. Because as a kid, my grandma Punchy used to say the babies a lot in our family looked alike as babies, but you could tell which one was me because I had the eyes of the devil, but she said it in Spanish, because my eyes looked like black in my baby pictures because my eyes are dark brown. So that's kind of what I was thinking this whole time until you just said that, even though that...
Well, I think they did it to make his eyes a lot bigger, and it has the effect of making him look even more like a big old puppy dog.
Yeah.
Uncanny though.
Yeah. Oh, very much so. Like, so much so that it's just, rather than noticing that they've done a thing, it just feels kind of slightly off.
Yeah.
But
because he's objectively like very attractive, but like I've never been like, oh, you know, it just always felt like a video game character.
Yeah.
So,
which for me fits in the doorstop thing too. Him being just sort of like diet angel, just kind of like generic cola angel, which is kind of, I think, the whole theme and idea that they're playing with here is she can't, maybe Cordy on some level knows she can't be with Angel because she respects the curse. She understands all of that. And so along comes Gruselig as this like secondary hornball fix, and she can go that direction. You know, I guess that works as a headcanon for her emotional redirect in this episode.
Yeah, Cordy wants a sex life.
Yeah, of course.
I will say, Ian, I thought that all of that of it would make you really hate this episode. Because when I watched this live, I think I've said this a bunch of times, I was like, Angel's not allowed to love Cordelia. I even preferred Buffy and Spike, but I didn't want any man in Buffy's life to ever move on from Buffy. Like, for me, it was like, everyone's orbit has to be, like, Buffy has to be the planet they're in orbit of. I don't care if she's not with them. They have to be never getting over her. That's what I wanted forever. I didn't like Cordelia and Angel. It was like, I want them to be just friends, and I want Angel to be lovelorn forever unless Buffy gets back with him.
That's not toxic. That's not toxic at all.
No, not at all. Not at all. And because Gruslog is so hot, I think that man is gorgeous. It's gonna be really weird if I actually have him on the podcast and there's like 10 episodes of me drooling over him. But I think that man is so gorgeous that when I watched it live, I knew what they were doing, but I was like, no, but I like this guy because he is nice. I do think he's like this like puppy dog himbo, and I like that. I'm like, just be nice to me. You don't need to say smart things.
The thing of it is, though, is while they're doing this, they're also engaging David's like fussy angel, which is also nice and adorable and cute and endearing. His like jealous David's so much more comfortable with comedy, and in this episode, him engaging that to me sort of cancels the whole thing out. The reason I never invest in an angel relationship is because I don't understand as an audience member what I'm supposed to, because nothing can happen.
That's
the
fair.
Curse, it's not just Buffy. Like I have no problem with. I think everyone should move on, and I want all these characters to be happy. But he is physically and magically incapable of being in a relationship, of being in a love relationship that might incur him to have a moment of perfect happiness. So I, as an audience member, go, what are you trying to sell me here? Like, I love the chemistry. I love the best friend nature of their relationship, or brother, sister. As soon as it swung romantic, I was like, there's no drama in this for me because I already know it can't go anywhere. So I don't understand why we're doing this as a show.
Well, I also think that like Cordelia, she doesn't really want a himbo relationship. You know, she doesn't need to be the smarts in the couple. She wants somebody who can like meet her toe to toe. And that's where it like fell apart for me a little bit with him, because he's like gorgeous. He's, I guess, like rich in a way, you know, like leader of a planet or whatever.
However that works,
But like he doesn't meet her like mentally.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think
that's why it falls apart.
I think I just had the waiting in the wings horny headcanon for me just fixed this whole episode. That aspect of it for me is like the consequences. She literally dresses him up as Angel in this. She dresses her dolly, her sex dolly, in the form of Angel before they go on a horny getaway. Like that to me is she's just pulling what happened in Waiting in the Wings and just sort of channeling in a direction she knows it can go, which is the constant frustration with me with Angel. It's like Angel pining after her and not just like talking to Lauren and being like, this can never happen, and working through his feelings in that way, or whatever needed to happen dramatically, is the frustrating aspect of that relationship to me.
I do agree with you on that, because I do think the show itself needed to like decide. Kim, I'm curious, what do you think of these relationships?
Do we really know that Groo is like a himbo in his own world? Or is he just got that like Thor just came to Earth thing happening?
I think it's a little bit of both, I think.
Because I mean, like, like the kind of like the dumminess of him like not being able to hand over money to someone properly. Like that's like, you're just not from this planet kind of thing, or dimension or whatever. But no, I agree. Like they play him up as a himbo, but I wonder if he really is. And if they did get to know each other better, then I don't know, maybe he doesn't turn out to be such one, and maybe that's what she's thinking more than like she needs like a dummy necessarily. I never think like, oh, well, Angel can't actually do it to someone because he can't have true happiness. Like I'm always rooting for love, and there's got to be a way, right? There's got to be a potion or something. Like if they really wanted to make it happen, they could. Like we are about to find out Cordelia and Groo do. So I understand like as like a,
I was gonna say.
Yeah, I understand as like a, coming from that perspective, Ian, that you brought up, like that makes sense that you'd like never worry about the relationship. But for me, I feel like I'm like, well, you know, like they could make it happen if the writers wanted to.
I think a thing that I mentioned, I think Ian in our last recording, that I realized the show needed to do, I needed to know what Cordelia was thinking. At least post Waiting in the Wings, I needed to know because it is hot. It's mystically induced, but it's not like that mystically induced, right? Like they both are hot for each other. It is hot. It's not like, I don't know. It feels like it was almost like a one-fingered push that got them to do it, not like a huge like mind control-y spell thingy.
Sorry, you talked about fingers, and I got distracted for a second. The thing that we've seen already this entire season so far is Angel, like the chirumtion thing, has made it clear to us that Angel considers Cordelia romantic potential, but we have never seen her perspective on that. We've never seen her have a moment of like, oh, is there something more here? Is there something, and maybe we needed that, but it was for a little bit of clarity with between Waiting in the Wings and this, but it's not there.
Because she seems fully oblivious at this point. Like it seems like it's like fully left her mind.
Yeah.
Until the end.
Yeah. Until the end.
But the one person on the cast who is not oblivious is Fred. She's been a stan this entire time.
Yes.
And so like also like I feel like Thor was kind of what do we call it? Himbo. Like all of his movies though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the dumbest one of the bunch. That's why that's how they play him off Loki.
So I do think he's kind of like a Thor insert. But yeah. And porcelain skin, he's got great skin. Not Thor, but Groo.
Yeah. We knew where you were going.
Yeah. I think, and even talking about it, actually, I'm like, Fred doesn't really get a point of view in the romance either. We just get Gunn and Wesley.
Yeah. And that. So I don't know if we want to keep going with the episode itself. I liked Cordy contemplating losing the visions through sex, and again, David playing humor in the scene where Wes is like, "Well, we could come up with some sort of prophylactic." David kicks the desk and then immediately keeps on talking. Was such a fun comedic beat. Then cut to Gunn and Fred in the cafe. And I it's sort of magical, this scene, in that these two people are just dripping with charisma. They're both gorgeous. And I feel nothing for this relationship.
Okay.
Like it is fascinating how charismatic these two are and how little chemistry I feel in this sequence. I thought you were leaning
towards like, and the chemistry between them. So I was like, what? No.
It doesn't add up. I feel like, I should be into this.
Well, I feel like they have charisma and you feel for them individually. Yes. Not together,
Yeah. They have charisma individually, but they don't have chemistry together.
Yeah,
and it's bizarrely lacking in chemistry. Like we've said, Wes and Gunn have a ton of chemistry. Wes has chemistry with everybody. Wes and Fred have a ton of chemistry, but Fred and Gunn do not.
I do think Fred has chemistry with each of the characters, but not the same kind of chemistry they're trying to give her. If that makes sense.
It's different.
Yeah.
I will say
friend mystery. No,
I did like Cordelia talking about it with her friends, because that like also feels real, and the shows don't often do that, where they like allow anyone to talk about sex without being like extremely prude about it, without being like,
it's wonderful.
You had sex? And I really did appreciate, because I didn't remember this being a plot point. I appreciated that it was a plot point where like Cordelia is kind of like blocking herself because she's like worried about the visions, and like, she goes to kiss him and he turns into a demon. And like, I did like her, Wes, and Angel, because these are people that have known each other for a long time at this point. Like, they would talk about that shit. And I like that Angel's jealous and Wesley is a little bit prude about it, but he's talking about it more flatly. And when she's like, I'm worried about losing my visions, and she says, do you like losing my virginity? And he's like, if that's how we're going to play it, okay.
Yeah, it's interesting that I think I mean, what is that horror trope where once the
Right.
campers have sex, then
They die.
They die.
They die. Like it was anti non-marital sex sort of like messaging from the 80s in slasher films. It became sort of an element of horror for a long time, and that was the trope that Buffy was playing with.
Yeah.
Which inadvertently, in a very progressive universe, coded sex as bad or non-marital sex as bad for a long period of time, to the point where it does start to feel refreshing when Xander and Anya have sex in season 4, where to have Cordy just talk about it freely with the two men in the room here as like, we're adults, we have sex, and I'm not going to pretend that that's not the case, does feel really refreshing and nice.
Yeah. And like, like Kim, right? I feel like that's how like we talk in our group chat. Like,
oh yeah, definitely. I love how I was kind of surprised how frank that she was about it. I liked that a lot for sure. And yeah, it felt natural. It felt like something you would do with your friends.
Yeah.
Speaking of sex, I feel like you and Zach should cover the best sex scenes, like rate the best sex scenes from Angel Buffy.
We should.
Yeah.
Subscribe to the Patreon where Zach and I talk sex and relationships.
My nudie Judy. Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me to plug that, Alastair.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. A lot of shows don't do that, and this show definitely didn't do that. But like you said, Ian, once Anya and Xander were allowed to be like horny for each other, and there wasn't like a punishment, and like arguably they're the ones that take charge when that house makes everyone horny. Like, they're like the ones that are like, man, whatever. I know.
and getting back to Gunn and Fred, you know what the worst loss of that relationship is? Their ship name is Fun.
That is a good ship name.
I was just thinking to myself, like, no, I've never heard anyone ship Gunn and Fred. Of all the relationships in the Buffyverse, and one of the reasons I know that, their ship name's Fun, and I only just realized that.
With two N's.
I did not realize that either. Yeah. Speaking of good puns, I do like when Cordelia's like, we could calm without the shocking, because I actually was thinking that. I was like, well, how worried are we? Like, can they do like mouth stuff, or is that like still worried? Like, we too worried about that?
They can have soft sex,
right?
No,
yeah,
no penetration, but like, yeah.
Well, based on history, it's just no kissing.
Oh yeah,
true. That is true. That's how the visions pass. I was like,
which I said before, Doyle and Angel kissed apparently in that alternate universe. So.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah.
I wonder if they can pass orally then.
Right? Like, that's what I mean. I was like, I'm not sure how careful we have to, like, but whatever.
What are the limits? Yeah.
Like you said,
she's also a demon now, so like, you think that would offer some protections. So,
yeah. But like you said, Kim, it's still a very frank conversation for the show. So like, I still appreciate that. And I like that there isn't like a shame. Like, Angel is jealous because Angel is jealous, but there's no like shaming going on. It's like Angel's being weird.
It's not about that.
Yeah. And that makes me like it more.
Yeah. It feels very adult.
Yeah. Kim, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I just agree.
Oh, okay. So yeah, then we get we mentioned it, the Gunn and Fred. I also just feel like it comes out of nowhere. Like, I know they kiss in Waiting in the Wings, but they're like, we've been doing this for weeks. And it's like, they have like, and
Waiting in the Wings was literally the episode. Angel is taking the tux off.
Yeah.
In this episode.
So like, it has to have been way before Waiting in the Wings.
Yeah, it does not. It does not work.
We did see them in Cordy when he was kind of like flirting with her. So I wonder if it's like started to run then.
True. And I guess
the other thing too is it feels like whoever wrote this episode didn't watch the last two episodes because Gunn says, "What about Wes?" And Fred says, "Oh, he's just a really close friend." And they've already shown that Fred is insightful about romances between two characters because of the Guy-Rumshen talk about Angel and Cordy. And Fred, or excuse me, Gunn and Wes were standing next to each other, drooling over Fred in Provider. And they both talked about the flirting. And then this episode treats Wes's revealing of his interest in Fred to Gunn as a completely surprise. Oh, I didn't realize. And it's just like, it's another reason to me why, not to go back to Provider, but why Provider didn't work. This is a Tim Minear written and directed episode. There's a bit of blocking in this that I really love. Wes is on the phone and everyone's sitting together in the middle of the lobby. And Wes, as he's on the phone, moves behind a pillar, and we see his perspective, the pillar block Gunn out of the what he's seeing so that he only sees Fred. And it's such a wonderful little bit of visual storytelling to take the time to actually go bother to shoot that shot from the perspective of Wes. So that, I mean, we already know what he's thinking, but to see him do something so kind of cute and endearing and a little sad and a little, I mean, like this whole we're about to enter into the fall of Wes, the fall of Wesley Wyndham Price, which has been, you know, the table is set, the seeds have already been planted previously on, but these as set of events are the beginning of the end. And it's compelling. I mean, I think I really like Wes a lot. I realize I know the ways that he's problematic, but it's very watchable, I suppose is what I'll say.
I mean, I feel like he's one of the lesser problematic characters.
Yeah, that's true. Angel as a whole has lots of issues, but
so we get that scene. We get Groo recognizes the demon they're hunting that Cordy had the vision about.
They go and hunt it down after David gets jealous about that's my favorite broadsword, which I think is a ton of fun.
He's like,
get rid of it pretty easily.
He's like, ask him not to handle my favorite weapons, but I feel like he's also talking about Cordelia.
Yeah.
You know,
I think the subtext is rapidly becoming text.
Mm-hmm.
I do like is it? Oh no, he's not dressed like him yet, is he? No, he is, right?
I think so.
I'm like, where am I?
He is. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because this is after they celebrate. Cordy comes to Angel and says, "Help me have sex. I'm tired of being lonely."
Right. Right.
And I love that he says, "Oh, okay." I love that he says yes. You know, rather than no or ew or not interested or whatever, like despite his pain of that he's dealing with and going on, I love that he says he's willing to do it.
Oh, he's not dressed like him yet. He's not.
If they were ever together, she would need a surrogate sex partner. So also, I love that Cordelia always I mean, she's not an amazing drawer, but she always draws the demons like as big and buff. like it's like, oh yeah, titties and big shoulders and all that stuff. Yeah.
The demon had the body of Grooslog, so I think he's not dressed like Angel yet. He's still in his like Groo Xena outfits.
Yes, he is.
Well, he is when they go to the demon brothel.
Yes, when that later, but so
yeah,
because I wanted to talk about, I liked that scene when they have that happen. But anyway, so
I'm sorry, I don't mean to rush.
No, it's okay. So we. Groo is basically telling Angel when they're like walking in the sewer. I do like that there's like a literal. There is both. He's both talking about the literal. She won't have sex with me because she saw me as a demon. She's worried about the comm shock. But also like there seems to be some vibes blocking her wanting to have sex with me, which is Angel. And I really like that. And I like that Grooslog is saying it without knowing that that's what he's saying. Mm-hmm. Because it's obvious to us, but it wouldn't be obvious to him. Ian, you're going to say you didn't like it?
No, I wasn't going to say that. I was just going to say I just realized the whole subtext here is Cordy grappling with whether or not she can have a relationship with Angel. When she, in the beginning of the episode, when she's kissing and about to get intimate with Gruselug, she sees a demon inside of him. And that is exactly the entire situation with Angel throughout the course of the episode. In her birthday episode, when she went back and kissed Angel, the spell passed, the visions passed back to her. So like all of this stuff about Groo, to me, the more we talk about it, the more it seems to me that this is just her grappling with feelings about Angel. Like we haven't had it explicitly stated the way we have with Chirumtion and Angel flirting with her and all of that stuff. But if anything, I kind of like this more subtle version of the storytelling of her perspective, just from the standpoint of the storytelling, like making Gruselug that sort of metaphorical way of her exploring whether to bang or not to bang Angel.
Also, she just wants to get laid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there is that. Yeah.
Fair.
I mean, this whole team's pretty hard
I like
up.
this. I think you're right, but like, I think it is important that like she does want to have sex and with a very hot man, and that's like available to her and wants to have sex with her. Yes.
And it's like just fully doting on her, like fully. That's nice.
Yeah, I think she does. She doesn't think of Groo as like a partner. I think she thinks of him as,
Meat.
opportunity to have sex. Yeah. So
and like not even in a negative way, but like our girl deserves to get laid. Like like I don't even think she's like, oh, I'm gonna use him. It's just like, this is a cute guy. I enjoy his company. We would probably have good sex. Like I think that's kind of it. There's not, and it doesn't have to be any deeper than that. Like, I don't think it's like she's like, I don't like him, but I'm gonna have sex with him. And then she's like, I kind of like him.
Yeah,
sure.
she's not misleading him.
Yeah, no, I don't think she is.
Becomes clear as the story goes on that he's more into her than she is into him, but she doesn't know that in the beginning.
Yes. So I will say I also like this, and Kim, I feel like I've been saying this for all 28 years of our friendship. I like when they have this kind of dynamic where no one's in the wrong. Like, I really like that. I think that's a way better way to tell this kind of story. I don't love the like sudden love triangle, but if we're going to do it, I like that Groo isn't the bad guy. Cordelia isn't, like, no one's the bad guy in this situation. It just is complicated.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a way better. That's the only version of this kind of story I like. I don't like if it's like one is like, ooh, the bad one, then we can push them aside.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, no, I also like that scene almost feels like a 30 Rock bit because it's so like he's the hero and then everyone's people clapping. Yeah. It's like everyone's really like, look, Angel, you can't do this. We're not going to clap for you, bitch. Like, It feels like they're like throwing tomatoes at Angel.
Yeah.
Ian, I actually thought this scene specifically would kill the episode for you. I was like, I don't like this. Ian probably doesn't like this either.
The out in the sunshine bit.
Yeah, like how heightened it is.
I think it fits with Gruselug's entire. There's an element to him because he's from Pylea that is very a little surreal or a little comedic. Mm-hmm. He's a little he's a fantasy character from a fantasy land, right? That's so when Groo's on screen, reality isn't really real. He's not Buffy. He's not a superhero who has to figure out how to pay his bills and his taxes and all of that. He the storytelling rules broke when they went to Pylea. Why am I not on fire? Right. And so I think for his little stint here on the show, he's bringing some of that element of fantasy to this. And so I don't look at the scenes with Groo through the same lens because the show doesn't give me a reason to, so maybe I just didn't parse that sequence the way you did.
That's fair. Alastair, what'd you think of that?
No, I think it's also like a cultural issue, right? So like we never really get, except for the couple episodes at the end of season 2, into like the culture of Pylea. Mm-hmm. And I think that he just like, it does feel like a fantasy character, like you said, Ian, like separated and put into this world. And I think that if he had been in if he had been a main character we'd see like that more because you'd have to like figure out like how is he going to live. But we don't.
He's also still wearing the outfit. So to the people in the park who may or may not know that supernatural things exist in LA, like it may have looked like some sort of like, I don't know, LARPing or something, you know, like Ren Fair thing. So maybe that's why they're clapping like some sort of show.
That's true.
There's a lot of like, can I move on to the next scene?
Yeah.
There's a lot of like things where somebody's talking about something, but they're also talking about something else in this episode, which I think is done really well. Cause I feel like it's happened a couple of times thus far. And like this woman with like the Jerry, the cheating husband, like she's talking specifically about like her situation, and we only get glimpses of her, and she, you know, she's talking to Angel, and Angel's watching them all like laugh or whatever. But it sounds like she's talking about his situation. Yeah. And then we also see Wes watching them at some point. I think maybe is this the scene you're talking about where he was like behind? There's like the column in front of something. No, it's a different one.
No, that's later.
No,
that's later. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's still like watching, and even though he's not talking to the same woman Angel as it like applies to him too. And I thought that was all well done.
Yeah. So we get Wes. They like this woman hires them. She wants them to find her husband. Wes assures Angel the demon would have been defeated without Groo, right? Because Wes is kind of Angel's, I don't know. I do like that Wes is helping Angel work through this while Wes is also, and Angel doesn't really seem to know that Wes is also going through a thing. But Wes is trying to console Angel, but also try to console himself with consoling Angel. I like that. You're
like one of these rare books, one of these rare volumes. Yeah, I love that. And I also think, given where it would have been a little too pat for that line, as much as I love their care and intimacy in that sequence, it would have been a little too pat if that line had just existed. And so they undercut it by having the librarian come in with say, I found 3 copies of the one you're looking for.
Yeah.
Which shows that, you know, even the volumes are not that rare. It's a really great beat.
Yeah. And like, I do even like Wes's realization when he's like, you're saying he'd replace Cordelia? You're worried he'll replace you. And Wes is like almost fully there, but not full, right? I don't think he's getting it as like romantic. I think he's getting it as, I don't know. Do you guys think, do we think like Wes did get the romance of it or just was like in a friend way jealous?
I didn't even think
what
of
he
that.
read Angel.
I just like assumed that he knew, but yeah, I mean, you're right. Like it could be, he's kind of in his own world doing his own thing.
Yeah.
Like not.
Yeah, I read that just as the team replace him in the team. I didn't read that from a romantic place.
Alastair?
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also Ian, maybe you can, or Alastair, the books he comes back with are the books from Pylea? Is that what it is? Like the Wolfram and Hart book?
I think it is, yeah. Well, no. I'm not sure.
No, it's Wes is like, oh, there's other copies of this other thing somewhere. Like, we should go look for these other ones instead of invading Wolfram and Hart. He's like, no, there's other research on the same subject. So he finds a particular book. That's the way I understood it.
But like the
it's on Connor. The research that he's doing is on Connor, and they're looking for a volume that has to do with it.
Okay.
Which now makes me. Maybe there's multiple books on the prophecy that he finds at the end of the episode, because we know where that prophecy comes from and how it was set up and what it is, that it's not legitimate. But it's interesting to me that it's in 3 different copies, that there's 3 copies of this ultra super rare prophecy, where you think the Shanshu prophecy was a scroll with a dragon on it sitting on the shelf at Wolfram and Hart. This one is just in the bookstore someplace with the 3 of them.
The New Age
it's a little weird.
Store.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fair. I was getting confused with I read the trivia, but apparently that's just there's a book on the shelf that's that in the bookstore. I don't know. Anyway, so Gunn and Fred are doing a stakeout. They kiss. The man disappears. They got to find the man at the tree where he disappeared.
Cordy
see
gives
the video.
Groo a haircut.
but we're gonna do
That's
just
the haircut sequence. Yeah.
We're gonna wrap this up. They get sucked into the tree. So then we get Cordy giving Groo a haircut.
I like the demon tree, by the way. I'll be the only one here. That's fine. I don't mind saying it. The demon tree that feeds on love and warmth in everybody is, and the makeup to me is incredibly dark crystal. It reminds me of it reminds me of the stuff that creeped me the hell out when I was in the 80s. And I love Angel having to sadden Groo to sour the milk so that the tentacle goes into him instead. And we was like the cold, suffering loneliness that Angel has to deal with is the power that defeats the tree. It's all on the nose. It's all silly. And for some reason, I really enjoy it. Like we were talking
surprised,
about.
Ian.
Yeah, I know. I understand.
I fucking hated that. I was like, this is stupid. And I feel like how many times is the twist, well, the thing needed a human, but it tried for Angel, and he's a vamp. We fucking know he's a vampire. Like, yeah.
He's human shaped.
Yeah.
I actually, while we were watching that, I was thinking of all the times that happened, starting with the Dark Age.
Yeah.
Where the demon jumps into Angel, and that's their solution because Angel's had a demon inside of him the whole time. It's a trope they've gone back to a little bit, but as a way of visual storytelling with the kind of the themes of the episode and what he's going through with, I was like, okay, fine.
But so Cordelia gives Groo a haircut. I do like when she's like, your strength like isn't in your hair, is it? I like that she's like even thinking of wacky fantasy things that could possibly be true. Don't love I practice with my cousin a lot.
Because he's Groo Punzel.
Yeah. Yay, incest jokes.
Yeah, I was like, what is that? Cordy tells she clothes Grooslog in Angel's clothes. And I do like that it's right as Wes and Angel. Wes is like, he's nothing like you, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, he looks just like you. And he does look, I think he looks hotter. Honestly, him like in Angel's clothes, I'm like, this man looks good. And then what is it? Is it then that they go to the like place to get the potion?
Then they go to the demon brothel. Yeah. We get a little bit of gay panic. Well, we're not here together. It's like, come on, guys.
But I like that it's not from Groo. It's not from Groo. Groo is like, no, we are here together.
I love that.
Because I made sure to put that in my notes. Yeah.
Actually, then does it qualify as gay panic or just Angel like not wanting to not like if it were Spike, yeah, we're here together. But if it's Grooslug, like, nah.
I think you'd say the same thing for Spike, but like I feel like Angel is like the audience's like male straight guy that you have to like audience through. So everybody's like no homo bro. Kind of like thing,
And Angel, as much as we all joke about like, the vampires all being queer, Angel would be I think of all of the characters, like that one who would say
that. Homo guy?
Yeah, like he would be like the not gay if I don't do anything kind of guy.
Angelus and Spike. He's probably like no homo before they did it. So like,
yes. He invented the term. I kind of like everything. I almost wish this was something we like went to more often or like spent more time in, because I was like, this is kind of fun. Like I love
the slow-mo sequence, the little slow-mo, like they slow down time to prolong pleasure. I thought was really cool.
And I like that Angel gets entranced by it. So it doesn't happen often with Angel.
Yeah. We've done demon brothel stuff before in the first season, and it was nothing compared to this. This really worked.
Yeah, I like Groo wanting to unchain the guy, and the guy's like, what are you doing? And Angel has to be like, no, I think he's happy there. And Groo like doesn't understand. The woman gives them the potion, and I know it's like, I mean, Kim, you nailed it with like, he's like Thor. But I mean, Thor was in the comics, but this was pre-Thor movies. I do like when he's like, your code is singing because his cell phone's ringing. I thought that was like very charming.
Yeah, I loved that.
I like a himbo.
Yeah. Because he delivers it so deadpan too, like he means it. He's like, "What's going on? Your coat's singing. Weird."
Well, it's also
it was
crazy
great.
that Cordelia was like, "I'm gonna cut your hair. I'm gonna dress you up exactly like Angel. You're like you're my double."
Yeah, see, she's working stuff out. She's working
Yeah,
stuff
she is,
out right now. Like the more we talk about it, the more I'm like, that's what this episode is.
Yeah.
She's the smart one of the bunch. So,
Yeah.
of course, she understands on some level that can't happen. So, let's do this.
So after his phone sings in his coat, Gunn and Fred tell him that we only get Angel's side of the conversation, but they tell him that, you know, they need his help. And he's like, why didn't you call Wes? And then I wasn't sure if Gunn and Fred were pretending that they also wanted Groo's help, and that's why they called Angel, because they like didn't want to call Wes, obviously, because they know that Wes has a crush on Fred. Or
yeah, that's how I read that too, which again throws that final scene in. But I forgot to connect the dots. If they didn't want to call Wes, that was because
they didn't want to say we were making out, right?
And they also talked about it at the diner about like how they know that Wes has a crush on Fred. Basically, like Gunn certainly knows, and Fred's kind of like, "Oh yeah, we're just friends." So like they definitely knew, but weird. I wasn't sure, like, because for me it's like, oh, that's like a punch to Angel, where it's like, oh, they also wanted Groo's help. Oh, like he's so important now. But really, it's like they're just trying to cover up that they didn't want to call Wes because they didn't want to call Wes. So
I didn't think about that part, that they are just coming, because I was like, why would they be like, no, Groo has to come? Because Angels
saved their butts a million times.
Yeah, and but that actually makes more sense, Kim, and I liked that reading, so we're gonna go with that reading. But yeah, I didn't quite. That actually was a big point in my notes where I was like, why would this happen? But that does make more sense.
And I love that the tree has a DSL connection, by the way. I forgot about that. It's so dumb.
That was
it's
like my
adorable.
favorite part. I love the DSL connection.
I was like, my dad would be stuck to this tree. That's what would happen.
It's a catfishing horny tree. Like I love that. It's
that
so
also feels kind of ahead of its time for that time, right?
Yeah. I really like the tree. It's silly, but it's so creative. One of the things that for me about season 5 is incredible is that we talked in I think it was during the provider discussion with Philip how much we wish that they would enhance this universe a little bit. Like it's nice when the Hyperion feels like a functioning detective agency. Like there's lots of magic and lots of things going on and around and whatever. And that is what season 5 is loaded with for me. Is it feels like they go to Oz. Like there's all of these different things. There's the Lollipop Guild. There's this, there's that. You know, there's this whole functioning universe that they are just a small part of. And every once in a while, the show hits with these sort of like high fantasy creative details, like the catfishing horny tree, which to me magically enhances and enriches the universe. It's not just these characters and their suffering and all of this, which I enjoy, which is partly why I'm here. But it kind of builds out the magical realism of the universe in a way that I really enjoy.
Yeah, I don't think I didn't like the tree because, like, I don't like the tree as a concept. I think I just, like, didn't like that it looked creepy. Because I know I said up front that I didn't like the tree. And it's just, I don't know, it's just a little extra weird. And I don't know. I don't know how they could have made it less creepy looking.
That's fair. And I feel like the reason I don't like it is because I do like that idea. It's not fleshed out enough, but also it's something that I wouldn't mind being the main villain of an episode.
Yeah, we do have the 2 monsters of the day in this episode.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely not fleshed out. It's wooded out, you know?
I knew you were going to say that, Alastair.
LOL. Oh, quit your barking.
Nailed it.
Not the nutty pine.
All right.
Anyway. So Angel comes in with Groo. I was like, is he being? Wasn't quite. It's so dark that I was like, did Groo get stabbed? And he's like, fine. But it's like it just kind of like suctions to you. And I don't love Angel having to like beat it feels like almost too cruel to Groo, but we never like circle back to it. Like, was he upset? Like, Angel basically like calls him pathetic and like punches him and knocks him out. And
Drew is so good natured. He would forgive him in an instant for that.
I guess especially if it's like he had to do it to save the day. Groo would be like,
it's Groo does everything to be the hero, and that's how he would read that.
That's fair. And then we get like 5 different endings to this episode. They wrap this up. Everyone, all the people get out, blah, 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 blah. We go back to the hotel.
And we get my least favorite part.
Wait, which part is it? Because there's a couple in the hotel.
The next one. So when Wes is telling Gunn that like the fiance is okay, like Jerry's okay. And he's talking to Gunn and Fred and then asks, he's like, oh, will you stay behind? And it's like suddenly you're like teacher, cop, principal. And Gunn is like the bad kid in class who you gotta ask to stay behind and like protect Fred. And Gunn has to be like, well, it's none of your business. And he goes like, what do you like, her brother? And he's like, apparently. And I mean, that's some good dialogue there. But like, I think
dialogue is good, but the principle of this interaction stinks.
Yes, I think one of the things that bothered me was I was like, imagine if Gunn were a white guy, like how would he react differently? Would Wesley talk to him like this? Like it really bothered me because of the racial dynamics of the scene and that Fred is also a white person. I don't know. It just felt like really super yucky.
A thing that I don't love is they all talk about Fred like she is like a child.
Not there.
Yeah, like I'm like, she's also an adult that can be in on like.
And this never really changes. We've talked about. This is going to be a bell that we have to ring over and over again, which is Fred's story and her not authenticity, but the her ability to act on the story, like her power and her decision making is taken away over and over and over again, even for her own arc, her own confronting her own bad guy and her own. It's almost it's happens so often, and specifically with her character, that it almost feels deliberate in a weird way. Like there was something going on, some theme or idea or something they were trying to do there that to me just doesn't translate or come through.
Well, it's like she's a woman, first of all, but they can treat her that way, and they do because she lived so long in Pylea. So basically, she's Thor, right? She's in the world for the first time.
Yeah.
But she also lived here for a while too, and has been caught back up to speed. But they're so used to writing her and her protectors in that way that they just never back off of it. And
then they romanticize it in season 5.
Yeah,
handsome man saved me from the monsters.
Yeah, it's just the way that so many women characters are often written, right? Like it's like that. Like once you become that damsel in distress stereotype, like they just never write her out of it.
Yeah.
Well, also Wes is the boss now, and they don't have HR.
Also, good point.
They haven't established,
point.
Yeah. I think that's Lorne. If there is an HR, it's Lorne.
It is, yeah.
It would be Lorne, yeah.
No, but he'd be encouraging everything. So he's there for the drama.
We then see Cordelia patching up Groo. She's opening his shirt. Appreciate it. She says he heals almost as fast as Angel does. I did not fully understand what Angel was like. Groo's like, I have to tell you something, and was his big thing he was going to tell her was like Angel saved the day.
I think that he got caught by the tree, maybe.
But she knew that. She's patching him up.
Yeah.
Or he got the contraception.
No, his big thing is that he was reckless. He put everyone in grave peril, and Angel was the true hero. That was the confession.
Oh yeah.
But that's what I mean. Like that was, I don't know, that the way that
it's not a big reveal.
Yeah, this feels like
not. But to him, it is, and it just fleshes out his character more as she. Right, so like Angel's like, "Ooh, I'm the true hero," and Cody's like, "Oh, that was so noble. I'm not taking credit." Right, like, yeah, but that was it. Like that was the big thing.
Fair. All right. But yeah, Angel then is like, no, Groo saved the day. And Groo's like, no, Angel did. It's like, they're like, no, you take it. No, you. Oh, I can't possibly. And then Cordelia is like, Groo admits, like, he's a man who's willing to admit he didn't do right. So.
And Angel's about to do this, like, selfless thing. And, like, you're right. We do get 12 endings. I literally, like, this was the end of the page. And I was like, all right, we're good. And then I had to, like, write up the side of the page because there were still 3 more endings.
Also, Angel's outfit's ruined, and Cordelia was like, "Well, I was going to rip it off anyways."
Yes. So this scene is so weird in the context of knowing where the show goes, because this does feel almost like I'm leaving. Like, this feels like Cordelia's exit from the show almost. Like, it feels like this is the end of their mini arc of their relationship, because we know it goes nowhere. So it's so weird in context, because Charisma Carpenter and David Boreanaz are both doing a lot of good work here. Like, the longing looks they're giving each other, the eye contact. Cordelia clearly knows something. We're not sure her point of view, but clearly she knows Angel. She's like, you sure you don't need me to patch you up? Like, she says something like, and the way she looks at him, it's almost as if she's like, are we okay here? Like, it feels like that's what she's saying to him. And then he hands her that wad of money, which is nice. Like, Cordelia deserves this, right? Like, she deserves this, like, hot, sexy vacation with this man who's going to, like, lay her out however she wants. Like, she deserves that. Anyone deserves that. That anyone I care about, I'm like, yes, you deserve that. And Cordelia is someone I care about. But I just, like, he's going so overboard to be like, look how okay I am with it, that I don't really know what my point is. It annoys me, but also
I think you're right. He wanted to go overboard to show Cordelia how much he's okay with what's going on, and show that he's putting her happiness above his.
Yeah.
Which is another gesture of love.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and she's kind of become the selfless character. She's kind of become the one that makes the sacrifices, the ones that, that she gave up on her life. Like, starting at the end of season 1, when she's tortured by all the visions of everything that's happening all the time, she has steadily become sort of the root and the heart and the center of the group, and the one who always puts the mission above herself and everything else. So I didn't take what he did as performative. I took it as an actual acknowledgement of kind of who she is, and that's the person he's in love with. The reason he's in love with her is because she is this person and she deserves this experience, was the way that I interacted with that scene. I'm not sure.
And then immediately following this, we get the scene with him with Connor, and it's almost like, I knowing what happens, it's like, I hate that this is how the show's trying to make us feel, but it's like, oh, like, he maybe wants to spend more time with his kid, and he knows that Connor's a baby, and like needs like a fatherly presence in his life. And yeah, so I liked how immediately following that scene, it's like, okay, like, you're not gonna pine after her for a little while because you're gonna just focus on being a father.
Yeah, like being a parent. But like you said, knowing where it goes. Sorry, Alastair, go ahead.
No, I also think the same for Lauren, because we talked about the selflessness of Cordelia, but I think it's the same for Lauren, even though we hear him ooh, nah, like hoo and ha, whatever, each episode. But I swear, each episode I've been on, I've been like talking about Lauren. And like, here he was just a glorified babysitter the entire time. Yeah. Like, he does the work, he puts in the time, and like seeing him at the end as like a surrogate dad, like, I'm like, yeah.
I think they struggle with writing for Lauren.
Yeah, once I think so too, yeah.
Once the bar blows up, he's not
he's just there.
He's just there. He's not super powered. Like, he can't fight, really. That's not his shtick. And so I think the writers love him, but don't know how to give him stuff to do in the stories. A lot of times, the impression I always have for.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, so we have to have somebody take care of the baby. during the episode. So Lauren doesn't have a bar anymore. We're just gonna put him there.
I mean, he's just primary parent, putting in the labor behind the scenes and getting little to no credit for it. Like that's how primary parent works a lot of the times.
Yeah.
not that Kim knows or anything from experience. Yeah, and like also this is like an infant, right? Like this baby is maybe a month old.
A lot of work.
Maybe? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. It looks about like 3 to 4 months old, I think.
But like in the context of the show, Darla only gave birth like 3 episodes ago.
Sure, yeah, in the context of the show.
Yeah.
I know it's not like Angel's breastfeeding. So like
also, yes. And so like Lauren's like doing like a lot of work here. But also with Kim, the thing I thought you were gonna bring up is like it almost feels like not only does it feel like we're getting at like, oh, I'm gonna spend more time with my son, but it feels like almost like this is gonna be okay. I'm like over Cordelia, we're good. I have my baby, I got my family.
I don't know if he's over her, but like feels like he can refocus.
Fine. Yes.
Yeah, like he'll be okay. Yeah, because he's got Connor, he's got his family, he's got other things he's got to worry about.
But it's just weird because none of that is what the show gives us moving forward. No. So like I always wonder like what, you know, I know with Angel they said that it was always the plan, but I don't know. I feels like they floundered a lot with what it feels like at different times they had a grasp on what they were going to do in the future and then changed it as they were going.
Well, I mean, you've talked about TV shows enough to know that it's awful to have a baby on the set. You know, like that's why the baby's in the beginning and the end. Like you don't want a baby to be a character on your show. Babies are unpredictable. Babies are bad actors, right? Like it's not a good thing. So you have to do something. So I'm sure that they're like, we're going to age this character up. Like, they knew that. Like that was the plan all along. So
I guess like, which is funny because Julie Benz actually in the watch along we did said that, which I didn't realize, but makes sense because you couldn't have a baby being like waterboarded. That's a fake animatronic baby in the alley. Like the entire scene, that's a fake animatronic baby, not like ever a real baby. Yeah. Which makes, I mean, she was like, could you imagine them getting a baby on set to lay down and be rained on? And I was like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Like, I don't think a parent's going to be like, yeah, sure, go ahead.
I don't know how much they're willing to give those parents. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Some people are
like, yes, my baby's gonna be a star.
But yeah, I there's so much of this, like you said, Alastair, for Lullaby, where I have trouble just because I know where it goes, and I'm like, But so that's our 5th ending, and then we get our one more ending, which is Wesley. The actual ending, which is Wesley has translated, and we see that it says the father will kill the son. Which leads us into our little arc. Kim, yeah.
Yeah, I do like how they just show like him writing the son, and it's right after this thing where we see Angel and the baby, and then he like looks up and talks to Angel, and then looks down, and then we see the whole thing. I don't know, I thought despite being the 6th ending, and I was like, oh my god, and I'm gonna run out of room over here, that was a nice touch.
Yeah. That's
you know
fair,
what?
Yeah.
I love this. Like, kill the son. Let's just be done with it.
Like, yes, once Connor comes back, let us just
no, just now. Let's skip that whole thing. You know.
They could do one of those after birth abortion things that are legal in some states.
After birth abortion.
My dad could tell you all about how that's true. Me and Kim's dad both can tell you all about how those things are true.
Don't make that a soundbite, please.
So some trivia for this episode is, which I was saying and confusing myself, the bookstore shelf include the Wolf volume of the holy books, which Wesley found in Pylea, and he brought back to Earth. So I guess it just ended up there. And the only other bit of trivia I have, which I did not realize at all until I read this, and I hate it. This is the last time Wesley will see Cordelia until You're Welcome, almost 2 years later, because Wesley will be estranged from the group when she comes back. This season, he is not with the group anymore, and then all of season 4, it is not her.
Huh.
Yeah. Hate it. Hate that.
Can you take that back, please? Just real quick. Let's rewind this. I don't want to know that.
Well, we were speculating why I was researching a little bit of why Charisma Carpenter might have taken a break from the show for a couple of episodes, but from the standpoint of the fiction, if you look at the next 3 episodes, it's hard to imagine any of them happening if Cordy was there.
Yeah. I feel like she would have been Fred tries to be a mediator when she's like, goes to see him and is like, don't come back. But Cordy would have been able to be like, everyone's being an idiot. Everyone shut the fuck up. Like,
Cordy would not have settled for any of this. Like, she would have found the way for it. She's the heart. She's the one who ties everything together. And so having her leave allows the events of, for better or for worse, allows the events of the next couple of episodes to happen.
Yeah, that is true. I guess, like, it's just weird that the actor who was in the credits leaves for like fully 3 episodes, and it's not like but because they could have, when Elaine leaves Seinfeld, which is the thing I keep going back to, because, she wore big coats when she was pregnant. There are episodes where she is sitting down, like she goes to Paris with Putty, and she is sitting on an airplane for a whole episode because she is pregnant. So they just have her sitting down.
A pretty fun episode, but yeah.
One day when we do our Seinfeld podcast. But yeah, I kept thinking of that. Anyway, now that we're at the end, favorite scene, Kim?
When they're getting all dressed. They're getting all dressed, and it's the thing with the broadsword, and then he's like, I shall present this beast's head to my prince. That whole part, I just thought that was funny. We get to see, like, David, like, doing his, like funny stuff that we love, that he loves. So yeah, that one.
All right. Ian?
Probably when she's asking the guys to help her have sex, and Wes says, we could come up with a magical prophylactic, and David kicks the desk and just immediately drives forward. The dynamics in that scene are so great. Wes being oblivious and just being fascinated by the magic of it all. I think that's probably my favorite of the bunch.
Alastair?
Also Angel and Groo, when they come back, they're both dressed the same, and Cordelia is like tending to Groo's wounds, and Angel kind of like decides to, fall on the sword and be like, oh no, Groo's the actual hero, and then Groo kind of like cancels that out. Yeah.
Mine is Angel and Cordelia's goodbye, which feels like the end to their relationship, but I know that I'm just reading that retroactively because I know it kind of is. Until like the last episode when like suddenly her and Groo break up and they're like, let's meet up, and then they never fucking do. Makes me mad. Favorite outfit, Ian?
I think Groo in the purple shirt is great, the royal color. Also, Angel hasn't worn that kind of spicy color since early in Buffy. I'm doing a Buffy rewatch right now, and in Lie to Me, he says these people don't know anything about vampires. The way they walk, the way they talk, the way they dress. And then another guy comes down and is wearing the same sheer bright colored shirt that he is.
I love that.
And after that, I seem to remember they mute Angel's colors quite a bit more. So I think Groo's wearing one of his old Buffy shirts in that sequence with the bright purpley color.
See, the thing is, which I noticed, Angel does wear that type of shirt and a purple shirt, but it's darker purple. Groo's is like a brighter version of a shirt Angel does wear earlier in the season, but it's just like brighter, which definitely was on purpose. Also, Ian, the weird Buffy outfit that Angel wears in some assembly required when they put him in a weird khaki jacket and a white shirt.
Yeah.
When he like saves Cordelia from the dead body in the dumpster, that's like one of the weirdest Angel outfits.
The way I parse that is he's trying to be normal. It reminds me of when Spike's wearing the blue shirt in season 7, where he shows up without the leather jacket on, costume, and holds the thing out. That's the way I read that scene. Is him just trying to fit in a little bit more, and then he realized fitting in means getting hit on by Cordelia.
But so Alastair, I was like, who is next? Is it me? Alastair.
I would say Groo in his fantasy Xena outfit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that.
That's also mine.
Okay.
I like the little braids.
Mine is the same as Ian's. Groo in his angel outfit. I thought he looked great.
So it's all Groo.
It's all Groo, but we have a split in the group now. We have to fight to the death.
if we had seen more when she takes off his shirt, I was like, this is gonna be my favorite outfit. 'Cause we're gonna see it, but we don't really see him. Like she just kind of pulls it off, and I was like, oh, never mind. Not my favorite outfit because we don't see anything. What grade do we give this episode? I might be changing my grade. I'm not sure. Alastair?
B+.
Ian?
If we're grading on a curve of plotty plot episodes, which I think are not just inherently not as much fun as the one-offs like Band Candy and Waiting in the Wings, but grading on the curve of the plotty plot episodes, this is kind of an A- to me. But
right.
I say overall, like if in a bubble, considering all the other ones, probably a B+. I think that's a good grade.
Okay. Kim?
B+.
All right, I give it a C+. Okay.
Ooh.
I had a flat C, but then I bumped it up to a C+ because I think I gave Provider a C+ as well. So
I think you're better.
No comparison.
You're better at giving episodes lower grades, Ian.
I am.
Yeah.
Because I'm watching all of them.
Every time we do a Magicians episode, I'm like, hey, they're all good. Hey.
That's me with every Angel episode except for this one.
I'm just happy that that's not
Lullaby.
me.
Yeah.
I'm just happy that that's not me this time because I feel like I've been on a run of being that one for these discussions.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for listening. If you like Slayerfest 98, you can listen to our podcast episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. You can watch our video recordings because every one of our episodes is now also a video recording on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe, like us, give us a good rating, recommend us to a friend. All of that. If you want to support us on Patreon, like I said, we have lots of bonus content over there. If you want to follow us on social, we are at SlayerFestX98 on all social media platforms. If you want to follow me, I am at IanXCarlos. Alastair, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at Alastair J. Patton on all socials. I'm also featured on AZB, the YouTube channel, and AZB Plus Patreon. We're going to be covering Queer as Folk, and hopefully after that, covering Interview with a Vampire.
And Ian, where can everyone find you?
I am youtube.com/passion of the nerd.
And Kim?
Kimberly and Southwick.com, and you can follow me on Twitter, and I'll never call it X, at Kim and Joe South with no extra E's. Ian tags me and stuff, so find me that way.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Well, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Adios.